What's up, everybody? Thank you for watching the Upside Down Show. I want to start with a quote. I've never seen a campaign more miscalibrated than the Trump campaign. Frankly, his staff ought to be brought up on charges of political malpractice. It is the worst campaign I've ever seen, and I've been watching them since 1980. They're on the wrong issues, they're on the wrong message. They've got their heads up their asses. Your damn job is to get your candidate to talk about things that are relevant to the people you need to reach. And if you can't do your damn job, then get out. Whew. That, my friends, was a man named Frank Luntz. He's a GOP pollster. He's a Republican, the guy you'll see on Fox News. Sort of the brains of the polling operation and, well, campaign operation, should I say. He's a guy that has very little reason to speak ill of the Trump campaign, especially when this came out, which was about 2 weeks before the election. He knows something that apparently no one in the Trump campaign is doing or knows. They're over here right now talking about Hunter Biden smoking crack. They're over here talking about the radical Democrats, how they're going to overthrow the government with Marxism. Now, the problem with all that is, even if you want to grant it all, even if you're the one screaming from the top of your roof, watch out for the Democrats, this is what they're doing. The problem is nobody cares. According to the polling, America is not focused on that whatsoever. Whatever reason it's for. Maybe because the media isn't covering it. Maybe they're biased. Maybe for whatever other reason, America isn't paying attention. But the fact is, America isn't paying attention. So politically, if you wanted Trump to serve another 4 years, you'd be telling him, get your ass together. Start talking about the economy. Start talking about COVID. Those are the two biggest issues that America cares about right now, bar none. Major two issues are economy and COVID. Economy, I mean, you'll hear Trump talking in the rallies or the debates how this is the greatest economy America's ever seen before COVID. But would the greatest economy you've ever seen have 78% of working people live paycheck to paycheck? The greatest economy you've ever seen have 50% of working people make under $30,000 a year. That's getting to the poverty line level. Now, this isn't a biased statement. This isn't partisan. This isn't a theory. These are true numbers. And if you connect the dots, you're going to find out real quickly that this great economy is going to somebody else. Maybe shareholders. Maybe the stock market that he likes to brag about. But that doesn't apply to the people that he needs a vote from. So that's the main issue. Not precisely what he's doing or what he's not doing. It's that he's on the wrong message and focused on the wrong people. In my opinion, yeah, he's doing a shit job with everything. Because his tax plan, 83% of the benefits went to the 1%. That's a shitty plan. If you want to be reelected, and you want people to vote for you, make sure their paychecks are different. And that's what's not happening. With COVID, again, in my opinion, he botched it up, but this show isn't purely about my opinion. He contracted the coronavirus. At best, that is terrible perception. That the most protected man in America isn't taking this seriously. The week before he contracted the virus, he was making fun of Joe Biden at a rally in front of thousands of people. That doesn't look good. It just doesn't. His vice president, the guy that is the head of the coronavirus task force, just had an outbreak in his office this past week, the week before the election. It all doesn't look good. So you can understand whether you're for Trump or against Trump. Perception, it's not good. It's not a good perception. So close to election. That's just sets the table for the polling. Because if you've been following the polling, it doesn't look good. It reflects everything I've just been saying, that Frank Luntz has been saying. Check this poll out right here from CBS polling in Wisconsin. This shows Wisconsin is it's indicative of the Rust Belt states, right? It's indicative of the demographic of white working rural people. And this polling right here, as you see, it shows that 60% of the people in Wisconsin that they polled think Trump cares about the wealthy and elite, as opposed to 5% of them thinks Trump cares about the poor, the working people. And you contrast that to Joe Biden, that it just looks great on Joe Biden's part, where it's down to 35% of the people think Joe cares about the wealthy and elite, and then 47% of them thinks he cares about middle class, and 18% not great. Both are not great numbers, but when you're making a binary choice here, you'd much rather be on Biden's team come election day. Remember, this is Wisconsin, part of the Rust Belt states, one of the main reasons Trump won back in 2016 against Hillary. He won by 70,000 votes between Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. So that tells you he's not getting that support that he desperately needs from these states right here. Check out this poll. So this one is, right here specifically, is a conservative map. And by what I mean by conservative is it shows that if Trump is losing by 5%, it's called a toss-up. Now, in reality, if he's losing by 5%, that's a safe win for the other side. But we're calling it a toss-up. Now, in this map, with all the states that are 5% out of Trump's reach, a toss-up, Biden squeaks by 279 to Trump 125. Now, that's the most conservative map we can draw for Trump. If you go more conservative than that, it just gets a little ridiculous. This next map here, it shows as is. So if you took a snapshot of today's polling and just voted as polling shows today, Biden wins by landslide. It's at 357 to 163. 163 for Trump. The next polling here, it shows Trump's, this one's my favorite actually. This shows Trump's best case scenario. So best case scenario, meaning Trump wins all the states he's winning in. Trump wins the toss-up states, the states he's tied in, toss-up, and then all the states he's losing by 5. If that's the case, and all goes perfectly well for Trump, he kills it. State after state after state after state. That means he wins 278. Squeaks by, because he only needs 270, he squeaks by 8 points. I'm telling you, that means he's winning North Carolina, he's winning Florida, he's winning Georgia, he's winning Texas, he's winning Arizona, he's winning Pennsylvania, and Nevada. Those are all states that are either toss-up or he's losing by about 5 points, or around 5 points. Oh, and Minnesota, too. He needs all of that. That is an uphill battle for Trump. And the next map shows here, the best case scenario for Biden, it speaks for itself. Biden wins all the states he's winning in, wins all the states he's tied in, and wins all the states that he's losing by 5 points. So he outperforms the polling. Then he wins by 404 to Trump's 134. It would be a landslide like we haven't seen in decades. This is going near 1980s level. So there you have it. That's sort of why I feel safe. It's a safe bet to vote if you're on the Biden side. You got to be feeling pretty on edge if you're a Trump supporter with this information. Now, again, this is not biased information. This polling, they've already adjusted for any mistakes that were made back in 2016, and there weren't that many mistakes. It was more mistakes on the pollsters and the reporting on the polls. But any margin of error mistakes, they adjusted in Trump's favor. So these are more true to numbers. So, or at least they ought to be more true, because they've perfected the polling, the methodological way they conduct the polling since 2016. And I can go on. I want to wrap it up because I don't want to bore everyone, but you've seen my point of view of everything. You've seen Frank Lunt's point of view. You ought to understand this is a completely different race than 2016. It's a completely different race. We have Hillary Clinton was a far more hated candidate. Joe Biden, he's hated on the right, but not as much, not nearly. In fact, 150 prominent Republicans like Jeff Flake or John Kasich, these guys that have led in the Senate or governors of states, they're backing Joe Biden. 150 of them. That would never have happened with Hillary Clinton. So that's interesting too. There's a lot of other information that goes to, if you're a Trump supporter, there is one thing you're holding on to, which is a great poll for him. Back a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago, it showed, I don't have the picture here, but it does show that the question, are you better off 4 years now than you were 4 years ago? And then it was like a 56% said yes. So that is absolutely, make no mistake about it, an outlier in terms of something that looks favorable for Trump. But it's the one poll that shows Trump has a lot of power in that question. Who knows? What I don't have a theory for that. I have no good answer for that because everything else points the opposite direction in terms of the way the economy is going, in terms of the way people view COVID. Polling also showed around the same time, do you trust Trump or Biden more for coronavirus, for handling the coronavirus? And by far, it was for Biden. They trusted Biden like 12 points more than Trump. And I wouldn't think that polling would change anymore at this point because coronavirus is only getting worse. So all of that should be favorable for Biden. Anyway, like I said, I can go on, but I won't. I have a very good reason to believe Biden's going to win, and I gave you most of the reasons that I can think of. There is good reason to also say we might not know who's going to win on Election Day because of all the mail-in ballots and the fiasco going on there. There might be a red mirage situation, by the way. Watch out for that. Red mirage meaning Trump supporters are going to come out in overwhelming numbers on Election Day. It's going to look good for Trump at some point on Election Day. There's no doubt about it because a majority of Trump supporters and conservatives in general vote on Election Day, whereas a lot of Democratic supporters vote before Election Day. So it might have this red mirage situation where Trump looks like he's winning and winning comfortably until you get all the mail-in ballots confirmed and counted, and then it shows actually Biden had the comfortable lead the entire time. If that situation goes down, we're in hell. I mean, we're in hell in a lot of scenarios, but that would be an especially deep hell we're going to be in. Because a bunch of Trump supporters are going to believe they won, their president won, and they already believe. If you're listening to Trump and you're a Trump supporter, you probably believe Democrats are trying to steal this election at all costs. And that type of scenario will make it appear to you that Democrats are stealing this election. But in fact, it's just the logic of how it goes. Democrats vote mail-in ballot by an overwhelming margin. And if they're not counting all the mail-in ballots till after the election, then logically you're going to get far more greater numbers for Biden after the election day. Anyway, Democrats have their hope. They win by landslide on election day, so there's no question. Trump supporters obviously have their hope. They come in huge numbers. So all this polling, everything will just seem like a bad methodology or just bad biased polling. There's no reason to believe it's terribly off, but we're going to find out November 3rd on Tuesday. Stay tuned, and thanks for watching, guys. Peace.